This is Mrs. Frank, and this is Mr. Frank, and they had two kids, Margot, the oldest, and their other daughter, Anne, the youngest. The Frank family was Jewish, and during that time, in World War II, all Jews were supposed to be shipped off to harsh labor camps, or concentration camps. The Franks heard what was going to happen in these camps, and they were not about to let this happen to them. They went into hiding in a secret annex above Mr. Frank's business that he worked at. The secret door was concealed behind a bookcase, and Anne kept a diary of these special events in her life.
Thursday, April 6, 1944. Dear Kitty, you asked me what my hobbies and interests were, so I want to reply. I warn you, however, that there are heaps of them, so don't get a shock. First of all, writing, but that hardly counts as a hobby. Number 2, family trees. I've been searching for family trees of the French, German, Spanish, English, Australian, Russian, Norwegian, and Dutch royal families, all in the newspapers, books, and pamphlets I can find. I've made great progress with a lot of them, as for a long time already. I've been taking down notes from all the biographies and history books that I read. I even copy out many passages from the history books. My third favorite hobby is history, on which Daddy has already bought me a lot of books. I can hardly wait for the day that I shall be able to comb through the books in the public library. Number 4 is Greek and Roman mythology. I have various books about this too. Other hobbies are film stars and family photos. I have a great liking for the history of art, poets, and painters. I may go in for music later. I have a great loathing for algebra, geometry, and figures. I enjoy all other school subjects too, but history is my favorite of them all.
Dear Kitty, North Amsterdam was heavily bombed on Sunday. The destruction seems to be terrible. The whole streets lie in ruins. It'll take a long time before all the people are dug out. Up until now, there are 200 dead and countless wounded. The hospitals are crammed. You can hear children lost in the smoldering ruins, looking for their parents. I shudder when I recall the dull, droning rumble in the distance, which for us marked the approaching destruction.
Hello, this is Maggie Trumpernickel with your afternoon weather authority alert. Today in Indiana, you may be experiencing some heavy rainfall. Don't be alarmed, there's not supposed to be any severe storms. Alright, back to you,
For our weather update. Today on the BBC News, we have a very special guest. We have Miep Gies. She helped Anne and her family when they were in the Anne Frank and her family when they were in the annex. Let's give a round of applause, everyone, to Miep Gies. Yay!
Thank you.
Alright, so let's just start with a few questions about you and Anne and her family. How did you feel about leaving the Franks every day in the annex while you could go outside?
I felt really bad about it because I felt like that was kind of rude to them, and it was like me kind of bragging my power to being able to do what I want and them not, and I just felt really bad about it.
How do you think Anne and her family felt about living in the annex?
I think that the family was very strong, so I think they weren't very worried. I think they knew that they would be safe and it was the best for them, but I still think they had a little bit of fear that maybe they would be found, but I think they made the right decision because, I mean, they were in hiding for a whole year, so they at least did something right.
Who were you closest to in the annex?
Probably Anne. She was, because her being a girl, she always loved to talk to me about her problems, like boys and all that kind of stuff. Just girl talk. So I was probably closest to her. But then after the camps were like fled and everybody was rescued and they were allowed to leave, I probably became closer with Mr. Frank than I ever had been.
Yeah. Let's talk to you more about Anne now. Do you think Anne changed from the beginning when she was first, when the family first went into hiding to when they were captured?
Yeah, I definitely think she changed. I think she was more like, pretty much like more appreciative of all the things she had and didn't take what she had for granted, because even though everything was going wrong, I think she knew she still had her family, so and that's all that mattered. And she didn't like care much more about like clothes and how she looked, and yeah.
If you could change anything from what happened that year, what would you change?
I'd probably change, like, just not really thinking more about what could happen and just trying to like not think about that, because I feel like if I would have thought more about the turnouts that could happen to them, I probably would have been more like on guard and could have protected them more and made it not so obvious. And I probably would have like, I don't know, I probably would just do more to help them and just not like only defend myself but defend them as well.
Okay. Do you do anything to remember them, like every year?
Yes, every year on the exact date that they were captured, I lock all my doors, I close all my windows, and I just turn the lights off, and I don't answer any telephone calls, I don't talk to anyone, I just sit in silence and basically just mourn about the loss of my friends and just kind of have a day to reflect on them and remember their lives and how good the people they were.
That's very thoughtful. I'm sure all the Franks would be proud and honored. Okay, well that's all we have time for after our word from our sponsors.